Something happened this morning. Most people woke up and just continued. Coffee, phone, the day already pulling them forward before they were fully awake. No gap, no pause, just momentum. But you didn't do that. Somewhere between sleep and the first real thought, something in you was already checking, already scanning, already looking for what's slightly off. The residue of yesterday, the anxiety that came back, the reaction you had that you wish you hadn't, and without deciding to, you filed it under things to watch, things to work on, things that mean you're not quite there yet, that capacity to observe yourself. You probably worked for it, read for it, sat in silence for it. Somewhere along the way, you developed this awareness, this ability to witness your own patterns, and it felt like progress. And in a way, it was. And somewhere along the way, it became the thing that never lets you rest. This probably feels normal to you now. It's been happening so long, it doesn't feel like anything anymore. Just the background, just how a conscious mind works. But notice what just happened there. You didn't wake up. You woke up and immediately began auditing yourself. There is a part of you that never stops doing this. It was there when you caught yourself being impatient and quietly noted it as evidence. It was there during the conversation that went slightly wrong, the moment of clarity that faded faster than you wanted. It catalogs everything, misses nothing. It is extraordinarily diligent, and it is completely convinced that this diligence is the same thing as care. Here's what I keep coming back to though. What if the auditor is the only thing that is wrong? Not your anxiety, not the patterns you've been trying to dissolve for years, not the way presence still feels, just out of reach, even though you've been reaching for it for a long time. What if none of that is the actual wound? And the wound is this mechanism, this tireless, invisible insistence that something about you requires correction. You don't feel broken because something is wrong with you. You feel broken because you never stopped trying to fix yourself. The need to improve is the wound. Ramana Maharshi did not say, improve yourself. He said, you are the self. You are already that. Someone asked him once directly, how do I attain the self, pure consciousness? And he didn't offer a method. He didn't point to a practice, or a teacher, or a tradition. He said there is no attaining the self. If the self had to be reached, it would mean it isn't here now, and whatever can be obtained can also be lost, so it wouldn't be worth pursuing. Then he said something that sounds simple and lands like a demolition. The self is not missing. There is only a veil, and the veil is not ignorance about some distant truth. The veil is the false identification with the one who thinks it needs to become something other than what it already is. If something in the way he speaks reaches you, I'll leave the link to his books in the first pinned comment, just if you want to hear it directly from him. And I'll be honest, when I first encountered this, I turned it into a new project, a better, more sophisticated form of the same search. Now, I need to see through the veil, and right there, without noticing, the auditor had simply changed uniforms. This is usually where something gets missed. The ego doesn't disappear when it becomes spiritual. It becomes refined. It wants to be healed now, wants to awaken, wants to finally close the gap between who it is and who it imagines it could be. The language gets quieter. The goals become more beautiful. Meditation instead of ambition. Presence instead of achievement. Wholeness instead of success. But underneath it, still reaching, still convinced the arrival is ahead somewhere. And there's something almost elegant about how this works. Because the spiritual search feels so different from ordinary desire. It feels selfless. It feels like dissolution. But watch it closely, and you'll see the same basic structure. A self that is here, an ideal that is there, and a distance that must be crossed. The goal changes. The gap remains. And here's the thing about that gap. It requires a self who is insufficient to survive. The seeker needs something to seek. Without the incompleteness, the one who is searching has nowhere to stand. So the incompleteness gets maintained. Subtly, carefully, with total sincerity, not as deception, as necessity. The one who feels incomplete is manufacturing the incompleteness it complains about. Just sit with that for a moment. See if it's true before deciding anything about it. Nothing is wrong with you. Something is wrong with the one who keeps deciding something is wrong. If that's true, then the problem you've been trying to solve has never existed outside the solver. These sentences sound like wordplay. They aren't. Because if the self was never broken, never incomplete, never actually missing anything, then all that effort was defending something that was never under threat. That question doesn't have a comfortable answer. The mind moves toward one and finds the floor isn't quite there. That instability is the point. That's not confusion. That's something beginning to see itself clearly, maybe for the first time. Ramana called it the ego as the source of ignorance. Remove the ego, he said, and the ignorance disappears with it. But he didn't mean remove it through effort, through practice, through years of careful refinement. He meant see it, just see it. Because once it's seen clearly, really seen, not conceptually understood, it loses the only thing it ever had, the assumption that it was necessary. Darkness doesn't fight the sun. It was never a substance. It was only what was there before the light was noticed. And the light was never absent. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from working too hard. It comes from working hard in the wrong direction for a very long time, from spending years becoming more refined, more aware, more spiritually sophisticated, and still waking up with that scan, that assessment, that low, persistent sense that the gap is still there, slightly ahead, slightly out of reach. The exhaustion accumulates differently. It's not the tiredness of someone who ran too far. It's the tiredness of someone who has been bracing for an impact that never comes, holding tension against a threat that was never real. The body knows this before the mind admits it. Maybe the exhaustion is information. Maybe it's pointing at the mechanism itself, not at the need to improve the mechanism. And here's what makes this so difficult to actually absorb. The mind hears nothing is wrong and immediately wants to use that as a new instruction. Good. So now I'll stop trying to fix myself. Watch how fast that happens. Watch the auditor pick up the insight and begin auditing the auditing. Now it's monitoring whether you're still searching, whether you've truly let go, whether you're doing the non-doing correctly. It's almost impressive. The structure doesn't care what content you feed it. It will turn any insight into the next project, any arrival into the next departure. That's not a flaw. That's what the structure is. And seeing it, really seeing it as structure, not as your personal failing, not as something to overcome, that's where Ramana's words stop being philosophy and start being immediate. The ego is not the enemy. It's not something to defeat. It's something to see through, completely, without trying to fix it. Come back to this morning, the scan, the quiet audit before your feet touched the floor. It might be happening right now in a different form, the part of you listening to this and deciding whether it's useful, whether it confirms something, whether it can finally close what's been open for so long. The urge to fix will appear, and right behind it, the one who insists something is missing. And then, just for a moment, don't follow it. Don't fix it either. Just notice what's here, before the movement begins, before the reaching, before the gap gets constructed again. You don't have to do anything with that. Nothing was wrong. There was only an effort to become, and the effort was the noise. If you want to stay with this, there are other videos here.